What does mealtime look like with your puppy? Is it fine dining where everybody is well behaved like at a fancy dinner party? Or is it more like an all-you-can-eat buffet with people who just got rescued from a deserted island? Alright, if you're looking for a little more manners when it comes to mealtime with your pup, you're in the right place. Michelle here with How to Train a Dream Dog. Now before I dig into this topic today, be sure to hit that little dinner bell so you get notified when another fabulous video is available for your consumption. Okay, first, I'm going to give you a little appetizer before the main meal. I want to talk a little bit more about feeding, which will play a part in helping this process be calm, cool, and collected. So stick around for specific activities that you will use with your dog to help with mealtime manners. And you definitely want to hear what my homework is for today. Now, I talked a lot about food in this video here, so that's going to be the next one to watch after you watch this one. Now, in that video, I'm going to recommend a scheduled feeding time. This is really helpful when you're creating a routine. Now, routine is really important when you're potty training and if you're seeing some times of the day when the dog is extra nippy or biting. Now, putting the food down for about 10 to 15 minutes is what I recommend. Then you're just going to pick it up and offer it at the next meal or the next scheduled time. Now, you've probably heard the suggestions about feeding a dog in his crate at first. Well, using food to build up a positive association with the crate or another new thing is a great technique. But just keep in mind that if the crate is a super scary place, we want to back off a little bit. Now, this technique only works if the food is so positive that it outweighs the negative that might be there with that new item. You don't want the negative association to transfer to the food too. Now, it's not an exact science, but just watch for that. And don't feed every meal in the crate. Let him have some food just freely. Now, if you're really struggling with your dog adjusting to the crate, my online course can help you with that. Now, we actually just added a few new crate lessons where my other trainer, Nicole, and I worked with a new puppy on introducing the crate to her in a positive way. Now, you can check out the link to learn more about that course in the description below. And keep in mind that putting food in a bowl and putting it down for the pup to eat may not be their preference. So putting food in a bowl or on a plate is a human construct, so don't get stuck on that method of feeding. Many pups think that that's an okay way to eat, but not all. Dogs have an instinctive behavior to scavenge, so sometimes they like to do that with their food too. Sprinkling food on a snuffle mat or eating it in a puzzle toy might be a better option for your guy. Now, your mileage may vary, so put on your puppy observation cap and watch for signals that tell you what your puppy likes and dislikes. Now, another pro tip that I've mentioned before, but I'm going to mention it again because it's worth mentioning. Do not bug a puppy while eating. No hands in his food, no interruptions, nor lots of activity. And definitely no busy toddlers running amok while the dog is having a meal. Now, if we want the dog to remain calm during mealtime, we need to keep the environment calm as well. Alright, 2 more quick tips before I get into the main dish. Now, younger pups may not eat right away after they've come home and now are in their new environment. This is nothing to be alarmed about. Just give it a few days. You're going to start to notice when pup is feeling more comfortable in the house. Now, there's also no need to push the treats on them right away either. Believe me, dogs are food motivated. He's going to eat when he's good and ready. Finally, I have a great video for you all about those ravenous eaters. Now, if your dog seems to rush through the meal or seems to inhale it without chewing, you might want to do a few of those things to help. So you're going to take a look at that video for good options. Alright, let's talk about manners though. Now, when you're preparing the dog's food, I'm sure you'd like to see a pup who's calmly waiting for you to put the food bowl down by the food dispenser, but that doesn't always happen naturally. Now, you might have a dog who's super excited for mealtime and he barks and he jumps and he whines and he paws all at you while running around crazy, and then you're probably saying, Michelle, what do I do about this behavior? Let's start with what you want the dog to do instead. What do you want Fido to do when you're preparing food? Think it through. Do you want him to stand quietly by his food area? Do you want him to sit at your feet? Maybe Fido should wait just outside the kitchen. Now, any of these options are fine, but you have to think through what you want. And you can't just say, well, I want a dog to have good manners. Dogs don't know manners. Tell me exactly what you want your dog to do. I mean, if you don't know, he doesn't know either. Pro tip, if you think about what the dog does naturally and build on that behavior, it'll be easier skill to teach. I have a student in my online course, Judy. She's working through this exact same thing right now. Her dog Buddy likes to follow her into the kitchen and run circles around her legs when she's making his meal. Now, she doesn't mind Buddy in the kitchen, but that circling is going to lead to a human tripping pretty soon. So we worked out a skill for her to teach Buddy to sit nicely next to her. And he still gets to be near her, and he still gets to be in the kitchen, but no more circling. This was actually an easier skill to teach than something brand new like waiting outside the kitchen or even in another room. Now, to teach Buddy to do this, we started when it was actually not mealtime. Do you notice that gymnastics practice their skills at the gym, not at the Olympics? Yep, that's key. So you're going to need to start in the environment that is not when it's mealtime and slowly build more elements in that resemble mealtime. Now, the other thing we worked on with Judy and Buddy is not letting Buddy in the kitchen when he wasn't ready to do the sitting that we had taught him. So after all, this behavior takes some practice, and Buddy needed to be fed 3 times a day, even before he was ready for his Olympic debut. So during this time, when he was in training but not quite ready for the real thing, Judy put Buddy in his crate or his pen to wait while she prepared his meal. That way, he didn't get to practice the thing she was training him not to do. This is really the blueprint for unwanted behavior. You need to determine what you want the dog to do instead. Then you're going to teach the skill outside of the time that you use it. And then you're going to manage the environment so the dog can't practice the unwanted behaviors. You'll eventually slowly build up distractions to mirror the real thing. And of course, you're going to reward handsomely and practice often. Now, you might want to take notes on that blueprint. If you can really understand those steps, you can apply them to a lot of different situations. Now, let's talk about a few others where you might need some help. All right, here's one. Michelle, my pup goes crazy when I'm eating my own food. How do I make him stop begging? Well, let's use that same blueprint I was just talking about. All right, if your pup is excited when you eat, tell me what you want him to do instead. A lot of students in my online course teach the go to your place cue as an alternative behavior during human mealtime. Or maybe the dog has a special mat near the table so he can still be near his favorite humans but doesn't get underfoot. So that's actually the system I use in my home. Pickles has a bed near the table, and when we sit down to eat, he goes right over to his bed. This is a video of the other certified trainer on my team, Nicole. She's making pancakes. Now, as you can see, she has both Olive, her golden retriever, and Vu, her curious cat. And she's taught them both that they have to sit in a spot while she's cooking. Now, she's already worked with them both on this skill and practiced it when she wasn't cooking. And later, when she was doing just a little bit of housework in the kitchen too. Now, as you see now, when she's making pancakes, she's actually rewarding them both handsomely for staying in their spots. Don't set your dogs up to fail. Now, they might need some frequent rewards at first to stay where they're supposed to stay. Now, if they fall out of their position, you might have gone too far too fast with the training. Now, here's a picture of Lincoln on his mat. His owner, Allison, taught him that when she's cooking, he has to stay on the mat. That way, he stays safely out of the way. Now, when she first started this skill, she was working with him on the mat, and she was just moving around the kitchen. No food was involved at all. She slowly worked up to preparing food until it was that final Olympic moment. Now she can cook meat, and he's gonna stay right there on his spot. Allison tried to start training sessions with cooking the meat, but she saw that that was way too big of a leap for Lincoln. This skill took about a week of regular practice and slowly turning up that training dial. Now, if you think about it, counter surfing is really just an extension of the same process. Apply the same sequence to this challenge that you're having. So determine what you want your dog to do when food is on the counter. Train for that skill when food is not on the counter. Slowly add food to the counter. Block off access to the counter if food is on it and the pup is not really yet fully confident in this skill. And finally, practice and reward like crazy. All right, another question that I get with students who are practicing these fun games in my online course is, what do they do when the puppy's not taking the treats very calmly? And it could be that the dog is lunging for the treat hand, or barking for it, or even pawing at it. Now, there are a few reasons why a dog takes treats poorly. It could be overstimulation. He might be overexcited. He might be anxious or confused, or he simply fell into a habit of doing it this way and getting the treat for it. We call this reinforcement history. Now, if this is happening in your home, try this trick for delivering the treat. You're gonna put the treat in your hand and you're gonna make a fist around it. Now, when it's time to give it to your dog, as long as he's calm, you can roll your wrist around and then unfold your fingers. Then let the dog take the treat from your open palm, much like you would feed a horse. Be careful not to pull your arm back. So this can actually create the chase the treat situation and the dog lunges for it. So you want to be sure to get your timing right on that treat delivery. Now, getting your movements precise and quick are also very helpful in dog training. It does take a little bit of practice, but if you work at it, you'll get there. Now, I talk a lot more about the importance of timing and mechanics of training in this video. All right, for your homework, I want you to try a few of these things and see what your dog's preferences are. Here's one. I want you to try feeding him in different ways. In a bowl, on the ground, in a puzzle toy. So watch how long it takes him, how long it holds his interest, and if he shows any more signs of overexcitement or stress. Now, we're looking for some emotions right there in the middle. Engaged but not overly excited. Now, I also want you to try delivering some treats just the way I just showed you. Watch to see how it goes. Video yourself doing this game. Maybe you'll use this delivery technique when training the dog what to do when it's mealtime. Notice how well it goes, or where you need to make some adjustments so the dog stays calm but engaged in this process. Keep in mind that mealtime manners are really the beginning of stimuli control. You might have heard it as impulse control, which is something we want to work on with our dogs in order to work up to skills like leave it and stay. It can be really hard for these pups to overcome their instincts, but if we practice it a lot and reward handsomely, soon they're going to get the hang of it and the relationship with your dog is going to grow too. That's the beauty of training. The dog learns what you want him to do. He starts to act in a way that fits better into your household. He enjoys that peace and calmness more, and you both grow closer. Now, if you want to know more about how to bond with your puppy, you can check out this video here. It's one of my favorites. Now, in the comments below, tell me which one of these mealtime manners situations you are going to be working on. And what do you want your dog to do instead? Don't forget to share your hashtag